Very good, very good.
Well, I have to videotape all of you
First.
so that we know you were actually here.
Not an empty room, right?
Not an empty room. Exactly. Hi, Gary. Okay, yeah.
In October of 2012, the Election Integrity Maryland announced that it had found evidence of 1,566 names of deceased persons that were still on the rolls that were eligible to vote. Of these persons, 2 people had voted in the last election. Just so happened it was after they had died. On April 9th of 2012, reporter James O'Keefe posted a video on YouTube showing where he went into a polling site and was offered to vote in place of the U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder for the election primary. He asked if they wanted voter ID, and they said no. They were willing to let him vote for this man. These are just 2 examples of where positive photo ID would be needed in the United States. And it should help reduce the counts of voter fraud to 0, and it should also give Americans more confidence in the electoral system that we have today. Today we're going to discuss why Americans need photo ID, why people say that it's a bad idea for voters, and the reasons that we need to support voter ID. The main sources were True to Vote website and newspaper articles and books regarding voting. There's also a legal document from the state of Texas along with a report from the Commission of Federal Election Reform. You may be asking why we need to have voter ID and things that people need a voter ID to do. In my research I found that there were quite a few things, and just to name a few: adopting a pet, renting an apartment or a home. If you're going to buy a car or buy anything using credit, you'll need a photo ID. When you get a job, you need photo ID. If you're going to get food stamps or any kind of welfare help. If you're going to go to the doctor and pick up prescriptions, you need photo ID. You also need it to cash a check, opening a bank account. If you're going to buy cigarettes, alcohol, a cell phone, even antihistamines, you have to show photo ID. You also need it if you're going to get a hunting license, a fishing license, or a marriage license. All of these do require voter ID. And these are just a few things that I have found, but there are many, many more. And even with this short list, it always makes me wonder why most Americans that have voter ID would be against photo ID. Of all of the groups that are out there, the Democrats are the most vocal against it. And the 2 reasons that they have is that they think that voters, with providing voter IDs, will be more expensive for the states and the voters. And also it will discourage senior citizens, students, minorities, and soldiers from voting. We're going to go over these one at a time. First of all, the expense to voters, the states will incur an upfront cost, but this should diminish over time. Initially you'll have a big cost, but then after that it won't be as bad. According to the Building Confidence in U.S. Elections report, based on the limited available information, the cost of elections appear to vary significantly from state to state. Wyoming, for example, paid $2.19 per voter in the 2004 election, where California was $3.99. So this cost will go up a little bit. The state of Texas actually says that there's no significant difference for providing these free IDs to people, which would be required if the laws are passed. While it may cost voters to get documents like birth certificates and stuff like that, most of these documents, if they're unavailable to be gotten, so the state doesn't have record, you weren't born in a hospital or something, the states already have provisions that have been set up so you can still get a photo ID without those documents. The second thing was, the objection was that it would discourage senior citizens and minorities and students from voting. Senior citizens, most of them already have a voter or a photo ID because they're required to have a bank account. As of March 1st of 2013, all Social Security checks will be deposited electronically. So you have to have a bank account, which means you have to have a photo ID to open it up. Students are required to show photo ID when they enroll in school, and you cannot take the ACT or SAT without showing photo ID. Minorities, which most of the time are lower income families, also have to provide photo ID if they're going to be getting food stamps or any kind of welfare help. So they've already got the photo ID for them. Soldiers and their families are required to have a photo ID, and that is provided to them by the military. The laws, so why are the laws for voter ID needed? Basically for voter fraud in the form of voter impersonation. On March 27, 2013, North Dakota Secretary of State reported that 9 cases of voter fraud were being prosecuted for the 2012 election. In Ohio, 450 votes are being scrutinized, and over a fourth of those have already been sent to law enforcement agency for further investigation. 46 states are prosecuting for voter fraud. States are recognizing that having a photo ID ensures that the election process is actually done fairly, and that people who are supposed to vote are actually the ones who are voting. The Washington Post reports that 74% of Americans support voter identification.